Let's ask Nigel Nelson, political editor of the Sunday Mirror. Westminster veteran. You've seen it all before.
Indeed.
You've seen leaders climb and leaders fall. I mean, I guess 12 points in the lead. You're relatively happy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's gone up from 8 points on Sunday to 12 points now. He actually got a 15 the previous week. But the 12 points now, if he was to maintain a lead like that, that takes away any idea of coalition with SNP or Lib Dems or whatever. He would be returned with a 58 MP majority. So it's a good lead. Now, obviously, we're some way away from the election. I still think it might come in spring, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But we're some way away. So
do you really?
It's a snap. Yeah, I do. I mean, it rather depends on when the new Prime Minister comes in. The question really comes down to, do you get a bounce from that? There's some suggestion that Liz Truss, if it's her and Rishi Sunak, haven't performed well enough to actually get that bounce. But supposing they did, the best thing they could do would be to hold a snap election to get their own mandate, not make the mistake that Gordon Brown did back in 2007, where he dithered.
Yeah.
And of course, he only then lasted till 2010.
But equally, Theresa May tried to do that in 2017.
And it can fail.
And it all went wrong.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, elections are a gamble, as we know. Yeah.
All right, so he's got a lead. At the minute, he would win a majority, but on so many major issues, I've literally got no idea where he stands. I'm hoping to speak to the Shadow Minister for Immigration, Stephen Kinnock, this evening. But I mean, you know, the cross-channel. Well, actually, when I say the cross-channel, I mean it isn't. You know, a crisis. It's becoming an emergency.
Yes. I mean, we're talking about predictions now of 60,000 this year crossing the Channel, which is double what we had last year. And yes, you've got to do something about it.
So where do Labour stand? Help me.
I don't know is the answer.
Good.
So far they've criticised the way the Tories have done it. I haven't seen at the moment what I would call a credible alternative. I mean, the answer would be the only way to disrupt the organised crime gangs is to make sure you can do things like not have to claim asylum in this country, claim asylum elsewhere, so there's no need to cross the Channel. There's all sorts of things like that. What I do think Labour is doing is they're busy at the moment constructing the kind of manifesto they will put out come election time. And I think Keir Starmer being cautious means that he's not going to shoot his bolt, if you like, too early, and we will actually hear these policies a bit later on.
But we could do with a hint, couldn't we? I mean, when it comes to energy supply, I literally have no idea. Does he believe we should increase domestic gas production? Doesn't he? Does he believe in more offshore wind turbines? I mean, these are major issues affecting this country and its future. And I completely understand why he may not be giving detailed policy proposals, but a steer might be handy.
Yes, I mean, I think that, again, it's a question of priorities. So the absolute priority at the moment, before we consider the energy supply, I mean, things we rather hope will get better if the Ukraine war ends. And there are some predictions it might end by the end of the year. But at the moment, we're looking at absolutely appalling bills for people, starting in October, going through January into April, bills that people can't afford. We've got a government that is paralysed at the moment. We've got no real kind of policies from Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss about how they would deal with these rising bills. So what Keir Starmer has done is fill the vacuum, and he's saying, look, I've got a costed policy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So we know it's going to cost 29 billion, and we know where it comes from.
Albeit just for 6 months.
For 6 months as a beginning, yeah. I mean, it may well be you'd have to extend it, but obviously, let's take us through to April when things are going to get really bad according to the predictions, and let's see where we are after that.
Do you think Starmer's going to win the next election?
Yes,
with a majority?
I do. Yes. I think there's no reason why he shouldn't. I do agree with you. I'd like to hear more about the direction he wants to go in. I'd like to see less...
Well, anything.
I'd like to see official Labour Party policy not to be sitting on the fence on everything.
Yeah.
So there are things like that. I'm looking forward to party conference where I hope he will set out his stall. But yes, I think that he's got it in him to be the next Prime Minister.